And welcome to Impact 2024, our continuing conversation where we talk about all types of topics, current events, just issues that are popping up, everything that's on your mind. And we also have the opportunity for you, everyone who is watching, to participate. And that participation is through typing in your questions and your comments into the comment section. And so you look, get your opinions heard. If you have an opinion to add, please feel free to type it in. If you have a question or a comment that you want to make, please feel free to type it in. And so, as always, we jump into these topics and we have this discussion, and we see how it's going to go. All right. And as an announcement before we even get started, we have our website up. If you go to Imani CM, you can also see the Impact page as well. From time to time, we will now start to put just information out there, little things you can read and everything like that. Hopefully, so we'll hopefully get that started pretty soon. So feel free. Impact discussion doesn't stop here. It also transcends into the website. So feel free to go there. Our discussion tonight will be a little bit brief, but it'll be hopefully strong. We're talking about food. We've done this before. We're going to do it again. We're talking about food. It's the time of the year where we just had Ash Wednesday. And this is the time where people are starting to give up things for Lent. They're fasting. They're fasting food. And so people are doing things like, I'm not going to eat candy. I'm not going to eat any red meat. I'm not going to eat any meat at all. I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to have a different type of diet. I'm going to have one of the more popular things that they talk about, the Mediterranean diet, or I'm not going to eat, I'm just going to eat a certain way where I'm only going to eat healthy things and fruits and vegetables, or I'm going to do a smoothie every morning, or I'm not going to eat breakfast, or whatever you're going to do. It's a bunch of different possibilities and ways that people try to make up fasting for Lent or fasting in general. And so it's a concentration on food. Now, I would be wrong to sit here and tell you that I knew all about the health benefits of everything. I don't. But there are some health benefits of doing these different type of diets. They always talk about the Daniel fast or this diet or that diet. We talk about lowering our blood pressure, lowering our amount of sugar that we take in and their intake. Feeling better, getting rid of some of that salt. So there are benefits to these different things. This is not about fasting, so we're not really talking about fasting. What we are talking about, though, is food. And we're talking about it from a religious stance or standpoint. In a sense of, all right, is there a value, or is there that belief that we should be eating a certain way as Christians? So we have different types of people now. People who are vegetarians. We've always had those. We have people who are pescatarian. Well, vegetarians. Let's go back to that. Don't eat meat. Don't eat vegetables and things like that. Pescatarians, they don't eat red meat per se. They'll eat vegetables, and then they'll eat fish, seafood. And then we have people who are, there's a bunch of different other ones. I don't know all of them. Researched a little of them. The last one is people who don't eat gluten. I don't know what that is, but there's people who don't eat that. And then, of course, you have you have your vegetarians, you have your people who are pescatarian, and you have your people who don't eat gluten. And then there's just many other types of variations of people who don't eat certain things. Depending on what animal or how many animals, or if anything can come from animals, and all of this type of stuff. Don't eat pork, whatever. And so we talk about what's the importance, or the importance of food, or the importance of knowing or having a specific diet or not eating things. You look at different cultures. We look at the cultures in the Pacific when we're looking at places like Korea, Japan, Vietnam, other places like that, where they're high in rices and fresh fish and things like that. And we look at their lifespans and all that kind of good stuff. All right. But now we're talking more about, from a religious standpoint, is there a responsibility to eat certain foods and not eat others? Based on what you look at in the Bible, or based on what part you're going to, there are parts that talk about pork. They talk about animals with hooves. There are different parts that, talking about pulling back the veil and being able to eat all animals and all things. There are parts where we're really getting to more of the Jewish way of eating, where you're talking about kosher foods versus non-kosher foods. And so as Christians, people sit back and we can think about, well, what kind of foods can we eat? Do you believe that we can eat everything? Everything, as long as we pray before we eat, as long as it's blessed by God, as long as we sit back and we say, I'm thankful for what it is, can we eat everything? Can we partake in everything? Or is there a responsibility to make sure that we eat a certain way? Is there a responsibility to make sure that we take care of our bodies in a certain way? Are we being responsible to our faith if we just go out here and we eat whatever? So there is a responsibility of, do you think you can eat all things? Well, of course, I'll tell you what I believe. I do believe you can eat everything. God put on this earth, cook and eat, do what you want. As the word says, now what goes in to your body, which it makes it bad, is what comes out. So you can bring whatever you want into your body, food wise, you should be fine. So if you want to eat pork, I think that's fine. If you don't want to eat pork, I think that's fine. But it's not what comes into your body that makes you, that can be bad or foul. It's what comes out. And so as long as what is coming out, you're not coming out with evilness, hate, spite, all that kind of stuff. It's what comes out is what's important, not what goes in. So I believe on that standpoint. But then there's the other standpoint of, should we be watching how we eat because our body is our temple, as people say? Do you believe that there is a responsibility to eat healthy, or responsibility to take care of yourself as a Christian, because your body is your temple? This body is on loan. It comes from God. And so we shouldn't be out here just going crazy at fast food restaurants, just going nuts on any type of food. We talk about gluttony. Are we being gluttonous when we go out here and we're just eating like crazy? Is there a responsibility as a Christian to have a healthy lifestyle, a healthy way of eating, a healthy way of approaching food, a healthy way of thinking about food and different things there? Numerous thought processes. There are people who think, of course, we have different thoughts. There are people who think we shouldn't be eating pork. We shouldn't be eating swine because those are animals, or those are animals that they consider animals that are like bottom feeders, or like that eat their own stuff. So they say like lobsters, crustaceans, lobsters, and crabs. Then they say you shouldn't eat things like pigs. And then also, this is going to be a hard one for those of us who like Popeyes and other places like that, or Chick-fil-A, chicken, because chickens are nasty, and they, the way that they're raised, and they eat their own feces and things like that. So people say we shouldn't put those kind of animals into our body. Is there a responsibility to sit back and think about things like that? Like, oh, these are bad animals. These aren't good for our soul, good for our spirit, good for your body. Because when you sit back and look at them, a lot of these animals that I just named are actually pretty bad for you if you eat them certain ways. You frying up some chicken, that's not the greatest thing for us. As people all across the board, frying up some bacon, that's probably not the best thing for us as people as a whole. And so you sit back and you look at these animals that are very nasty with how they live. They're not really going out here. And so is that a kind of a way of, all right, we need to be making sure that we take care of ourselves. And also we need to make sure that when you eat animals that are doing nasty things, those are the actual animals that affect your body in bad ways. There are plenty of people who really get on board with this and believe those type of things, where you need to be looking at the animals that you eat. If you're going to eat animals, if you're going to eat them free range and all of this organic and blah, 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 blah. Now, to counter that point, I would say, and we're going to talk about Black people now. From our historical standpoint, when you look at our history and who we are and what we were able to eat, here, African Americans here in the United States, we were given the bottom of the barrel. And I'm talking slavery, post-slavery. When we had neighborhoods where we in food deserts or in places where you weren't able to go to the grocery stores to get the best of the best. You didn't get the best cuts of meat, no matter how much you paid. You didn't get the freshest meat or the freshest vegetables, and you had to make do with whatever you had to make do. Um, there's some references back to the fact that for us, that's one of the reasons that our foods, soul food, is so heavily seasoned, because we didn't have the best. We had we didn't have the nice greens. We had the collard greens. We didn't have mustard greens and turnip greens. We had collard greens. So we had to season those a little bit more. We didn't have the best meat. We had so we had to season that a little bit more. That's why we eating things like chitlins and eating things like cow tongue or pig tongue or birds, different parts of the birds that other people don't eat, the beaks and the feet and everything like that. And so we had to season them more. And so that additional seasoning goes to our health. And so for us, we had those. However, you look at your grandparents, your great grandparents, and you look at the longevity that they were able to have. Many who ate, some pork bacon every single morning for their lives, and then lived into be their 90s or 100s, or even, deep into the 100s, deep like 105, something like that. And you sit back and we say, well, if I look at the word and I think that I need to take care of my temple, and I don't think that they were taking care of their temple because they're eating these animals that they're not supposed to eat, or they're seasoning stuff a little strong, a little heavy. They're using natural butter instead of using vegetable oil, and it's just a lot of salt and all of this kind of stuff. Then why did they live so long? And so is it that God was just taking care of us because that's what we had to have? Or is it, maybe this whole food thing and this obsession that we kind of have with food isn't as important as it needs to be? Does it go back to the whole, eat whatever you want to eat, bless it, eat it, God will take care of you. There's people on both sides of the equation. Hold on, we have a comment. Much of the foods we eat today have so many additives, and there we go. And that's a new wrinkle into it as well. When we're talking about our health, and we're talking about eating, so no longer is it just, all right, don't eat these animals or don't eat this particular type of food because it's, it's a bad animal or bad food. Everything has additives. Everything has hormones. Everything's injected with things, whether it be vegetables or whether it be meat. And so that goes to the whole question, not even the question, that goes to the conversation of when people are then talking about you need to make your own. How many friends do you know, or I have friends as well who raise their own chickens and try to do eggs and things like that. Everyone has a garden nowadays where they can produce their own food. And this is not even an economic conversation, because there's some value there when it comes to spending a lot of money at the grocery store. But should we be taking care of ourselves in a different light? Is there kind of a responsibility, or is there kind of a edict to make sure that we eat healthy? I'm going to say no. Since we don't have any comments, I'm going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is this. As we talked about some of our, ancestors or some of our relatives who we know that lived a long time. I think it's about more than what are you eating. It's more about what you're doing. I don't think the responsibility is to upkeep their temple by not eating fried chicken or not eating, a nice pork bacon sandwich or anything like that. I think the responsibility is stay healthy, stay active, stay moving, stay doing these things. And I do believe that God said, whatever we want to eat, as it was shown, you pull back the veil. Everything is good. I do think it's more important about what comes out of your body than what goes into your body. And I think that actually that longevity comes about what comes out of your body versus what comes in your body. I don't know about everyone else, but when I look at the people who lived the longest in my family, it wasn't people who sat around and did nothing. They were producing. Things were coming out. Whether it being they were guiding the future generations with the words and the thoughts that were coming out of their body. And I think those are the things that give you that longevity. Those are the things that keep you healthy. And those are the things that, if we want to talk about our temple, honor our temple. And so I do believe that there's not so much a responsibility to take care of yourself in the sense of, all right, there's no religious responsibility to your food. And I know that's contrary, because there's a lot of people who are into that right now when it comes to a responsibility. You got to eat certain ways. because of all the acids, because of all the things. And then there's medicines that you're taking. And if you ate right, you wouldn't have to eat all these medicines, whatever. There's value in that. There's definitely value in that. But I don't think it's religious responsibility. What I do believe is that you have a responsibility to eat healthy for yourself. But from our religion, I think that it's more of the responsibility of what comes out of your mouth, not what goes into your mouth. I don't. Hopefully, I'm saying that right, where you understand. Like I'm saying, because I want to be healthy, and I want to eat healthy, and I want to eat right, and I don't want all these additives in myself or my kids or anybody in my family. But I don't think it's I don't think that it is a religious responsibility to do that. I think that is a personal responsibility to do that. Another question: What the Health? Great information show on Netflix. Yes. And I think we also have the responsibility there to get that information. And thank you for that comment. What the Health? And there's also another one, and I can't think of the name of it, but it's about when they brought some people on who were twins, and we're doing I don't think this was the Health. I think that's a different one. But they brought twins on, and they were doing the health and eating. But yeah, I think it's a responsibility for us to know what we're eating, to be informed, to know what's going on. And that is for our families and our health and our responsibility. If we're going to be able to be out here doing great things, which we all should do and want to do, then we have to put in the proper ingredients into our bodies to be able to do so. So I think it's very, very important. I think it's very, very important to take care of ourselves. Very important to watch what we eat. Very important when we have the opportunity to eat, things that are, things that are healthier. If you have the money, because unfortunately it's about money. The more money you spend, the healthier you can get your food. You go into a nice restaurant, steak restaurant, you're going to get a nice cut of steak with all the fat cut off, and it's going to be slim and, no antibiotics, grass fed and farm raised, and you're going to pay a bunch of money for that steak. You go over to Golden Corral and you're going to get some nice steak, but it ain't going to be farm raised and blah, 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 blah. It's going to be just, some animal that just they got. It's going to taste good because Golden Corral does taste good, but it's not going to be the quality. But quality comes with the amount of money that you pay. Unfortunately, if you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to be able to eat right regardless. It's hard to buy fresh fruits when you don't have the money to do so. I can't shop at Whole Foods on a consistent basis. Like I wouldn't be able to do it. And so I think that, we do have the responsibility though, to know what we're eating, take care of ourselves so that we can have the energy to do the things that we need to do. It's hard to be able to go out here and take time with kids when you don't have the energy to do so because you're eating foods that are just going to bring you down and weigh you down. It's hard to be able to take care of your family or you be able to participate in different events, different charities. It's hard to be able to have the energy to work hard and to be able to get money so that you can donate it around if you don't have the energy and the ability to do so because that food is weighing you down. So I do think, making sure that we stay informed, watching some of these documentaries, making sure you understand and read some labels, see how much sodium you got and all of this kind of thing. But again, I don't think it's a religious responsibility. I don't think it's a religious responsibility, but I do think that it is a responsibility that we should have if we want to be able to do the best that we can. Another comment: is breakfast the most important meal you should eat? That's important. That's important. A big discussion. Some people don't eat breakfast at all. I've heard that one. A bunch of people who don't eat it, and some people eat breakfast because it's the most important meal. It's heavy; it'll stay on you. I think that's more of a weight and energy issue. Like back in the day, you worked out on that farm. Yeah, you had to have that breakfast in the morning, I believe, to be able to make it through the day. You're not going to make it to lunch if you didn't eat a nice and hearty breakfast. So it becomes the most important meal for that. If you're sitting in the office all day, you ain't doing nothing that's burning no calories anyway. I don't know whether or not you have to eat it. And so that's a good question to ponder over. I do think that's a lifestyle thing. And how much energy are you burning off? Or weight wise, it's something, how much are you going to burn? How much are you going to burn that determines whether or not it's the morning or if you need to pound carbo load, eat heavy in the morning and things such as that. So yeah, But that's it. And if anybody feels differently, again, because we talk, and I've had so many conversations with people, and we talk about the religious aspect of eating. You know, that God, we was like, well, God wanted us, intended us not to eat animals. We're supposed to eat this, or we're only supposed to eat fish. We're supposed to do that. That conversation, again, as good as it is, I am not on the belief that there is a certain plan that we need to eat a certain way. But I do think each of us need to be responsible to our bodies, to make sure that we're eating in the way that allows us to be fruitful in our daily lives. And so if eating certain foods is going to weigh you down, if eating certain foods are going to make you feel bad, and as you get informed and you see these foods that are, detrimental to us, we need to eliminate them, because our responsibility is to be able to do the things that we need to do. And our responsibility is to be able to have enough energy, enough knowledge, and enough whereabout, and enough just feeling good about ourselves that we can do the things that we need to do to help other people. And that's basically it. And I'll stop with this. There we go. This is it. Thank you. Twin study. You are what you eat. That's the one. The twin study. I think that's very important. Take a look at that, and you can kind of see how twins, identical twins. One is eating on this path and another eating on this path, and they show, you can even see it in their skin and how they react and how they feel and how they talk. You can see the differences between what you eat. And so I think it's important to watch things like that and to be informed. But I say this, most of us have flown before. And one of the things that they always say on the airplane is they talk about when the gas mask comes down. If you listen to them when they do their instructions at the beginning, they're like, here, the gas mask here, and blah, 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 blah. If the mask come down, you need to put the mask on yourself first. And then you need to put the mask on any children or elderly or anybody who's having any difficulty around you. And I think that's important, because we don't pay attention to what that is. If you don't put the mask on yourself first and you're trying to help one child, you could pass out trying to help the child, never get the mask on the child. Or maybe you did get the mask on the child, but you have another one right here. Once you get that mask on yourself, you can help multiple other people get their mask on as well. I think that's where it comes down to with the food. Sometimes I think we need to take care of ourselves and our temple and our body, whatever that means, so that we can then go out and help others and do the work, whatever the work is. But you can't do it if you're not taking care of yourself. And so whatever definition of taking care of yourself, whether it be vegetarian, whether it be vegan, whether it be pescatarian, whether it be somebody who eats breakfast in the morning, doesn't eat breakfast in the morning, makes a smoothie every day, whatever that means, you have a responsibility to yourself, your family, and your faith to take care of your health when it comes to the food. And so that's where I come in at. I don't care what you do. And hopefully people don't care what I do, as long as I'm taking a serious and an honest look at what it is that I'm doing and making sure that I take care of myself with what goes into my body so that I can produce what comes out of my body and it can be something good. All right. That's it. Thank everybody for the great comments. I hope that this conversation continues on, or it sparks some thought into you as far as what we're all doing when it comes to our health. Oh, got another comment. In 1 Timothy 4, verse 4. For everything created by God is good, and nothing is to be rejected, provided it is received with thanksgiving. Yeah, and that goes right to the point. I think we can take whatever we want in. We can. We have the ability to take whatever we want in. You have the responsibility to determine what you want to put in. Because even though God has made everything good, it doesn't mean you got to take everything. All right. Thank you again. Please join us again next week. Same time, same place, YouTube and Facebook at 8. Thursday. If you want to come in for the Bible study on Thursdays at 7 o'clock. We have worship at 10 o'clock here on Sundays. And then, of course, on Tuesdays, 7 o'clock, we have prayer. You can pray anywhere in accordance with all of us. We're praying together. And we also have Impact. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Thank you for coming. And please join us again.